Alright, third video for Valentine's Day for European history. Alright, the Krupp family. They came from Essen, Germany. So they came from Essen, Germany. The Krupp family did. So they're German. And they started manufacturing steel in 1810. So the Krupp family makes their money initially off of manufacturing steel in 1810. In Germany, the government subsidized much of their business. So in Germany, the government subsidized much of their business. So this German family, the Krupps, began manufacturing steel in 1810, and the government subsidized much of their business. The German government. Well, yeah. In the 1840s, the Krupp family developed a new method of making steel and produced the first steel cannon in 1847. So in the 1840s, they developed a new method for making steel, and they produced the first steel cannon in 1847. So by the mid-1800s, they're one of the world's wealthiest families for manufacturing, which is why we talk about them. The Krupp family, over several generations, becomes one of the wealthiest families in the world from their manufacturing with steel.
So the dude in America, what was his name?
Carnegie?
He just like stole their process?
Basically, yes.
And that was just allowed?
Sort of.
Not technically,
I mean,
but
you feel like
it happens.
They don't speak German.
Yeah.
I know, but I was just thinking that.
Henry Bessemer makes his fast machine making process, his mass producing steel making process in the 1850s. So Henry Bessemer is British. This is a picture of a Bessemer converter where you would melt the iron down. It was like very dirty. By dirty, I mean hard to clean out pig iron. You would take melted pig iron, which is very dirty from all its, I can't think of the word for it, but like all the crap in it makes it bad. Melt it down, put it in the converter. They inject it with air, and that removes carbon and all the other impurities. That's not impurities. It removes all the other impurities. And when they pour it out, it basically becomes steel, right? So a British guy makes the Bessemer process, but what family is the first one to start building this in mass form? The Krupps. So in the 1860s, the Krupps were the first one to start building a lot of Bessemer furnaces. So the Krupp family was the first to start building a bunch of Bessemer furnaces in the continent of Europe. So they're always like at the forefront of like the latest technology with steel and trying to make steel better and more efficient. So be aware of where the Bessemer process comes from, but be aware the Krupp family uses it to their advantage. The Krupp family also adds their own improvements to the Bessemer process to make pure steel. In the 1890s, the Krupps made steel with nickel, thin enough for the construction of ships. So in the 1890s, the Krupp family made steel with nickel, which can make steel thin enough for the construction of ships. So now you get ocean liners and cargo ships being made out of steel like Titanic. Yeah. Rip. Huh?
So insane.
Yeah, imagine it has to be some of the density of the water and those kind of things. So like, I don't really have to answer that question.
What else were they making before they started making ships?
Wooden ships?
No, not ships, but what else were they making with the steel, where it had to be bigger than what they made?
I don't really have to answer that question. Look it up. By the 1870s, the Krupps also set out a general directive for their company where it gave out the duties of their employees. It created a formal hierarchy and it outlined the benefits of their company. So they're also kind of at the forefront of like creating a basic corporation setup. So besides making steel more and more efficient, they're also at the forefront of kind of making a setup for an effective corporation, where they're outlining duties of employees, like laying out like this is the job of the president, this is the job of the VPs, this is the job of the manager, and blah, blah, blah. It's not just show up and do whatever the boss tells you to, right? They show a formal hierarchy to the structure of the company. They outline the benefits that people that work there get in the company too. So they're at the forefront of kind of organizing the modern day corporation as well too. All right, this is some of the crops right here.
Why do we always have to put like stuff in like a hierarchy? Like everything.
So we are as a society, so are we people, right? I'm here and you're here.
Humanistic theory in psychology.
Exactly. You're less than me, so get down there,
Whoa.
peasant. All right, electricity.
Oh.
Oh no, do stuff. The first practical use of electricity was in communication. So electricity is made where?
In America.
Yeah. So you're going to have electric generators developed in America, but the first practical use is going to be in communication back in America. The telegraph. The generator?
No, the park.
Oh, the Menlo Park. Sorry, I just said the park. I'm like, what park? So the first practical use of electricity was for communication. In the 1840s, U.S. inventor Samuel Morse develops the telegraph. So Samuel Morse develops the electric telegraph in the 1840s in the United States. What's that?
What's his name?
Morse.
Morse, like Morse code.
Wait, what's the first name?
Samuel. Sammy.
Don't believe that.
So this was a method of sending messages with little electrical sounds along an electric wire with a series of taps.
That's so freaking cool. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That I still don't understand the science of like recording and like audio. Like I don't understand that at all. But
You should do a research project on it and figure it out.
Will I get bonus?
Is it Minecraft?
Yeah, like where's the no, where's not?
I don't know. All right. Anyway, humans could transmit info faster than an animal or human could travel. So this is a huge deal because now, for the first time ever, humans can transmit information faster than an animal or a human anywhere else in the world. So at first, like, it's all very local, right?
Sent birds.
Yeah. Telegraphs are all very local at first, and then in the 1860s, you get the first transatlantic cable. So in the 1860s, you get the first transatlantic cable.
I still don't understand.
They weighted it down. They ran the cable out. They weighted it down.
See, I don't
How-
understand.
how
I
do
don't.
they-
Yeah, I don't understand phones. I don't understand.
Look at him just posing with his little phone
Like,
out.
how does the phone grab the sound? Yeah, how does it grab the sound and
No.
get it back?
And that material in the wires in it catches that sound and is able to.
But how does it catch them?
Cell phones have satellites and wireless towers that feed the satellites. I don't know. I'm not that guy. I don't know. Yes.
Yeah, I don't understand.
The cell towers.
How it grabs the
They
sound.
just hold it down to like a certain level.
I don't know. It's a good question. Go research it. Find out. Come tell me that.
How does it put it in the water?
See, Leah, don't you want to come join European history next year?
How it grabs the sound?
Good. Thank you.
How
Oh, I forgot that line.
Yes, Thomas.
I'm so sorry.
They don't grab the sound. It's like, so the sound makes signals, and like in your phone, it takes that signal and it has like a number for it.
But they're
And
saying,
then
I don't think that's answering their question
how do
though.
you like
How does it
grab the
transfer?
sound? Like how do you?
Tell it how it gets the sound.
But how does it transfer
I-
that sound?
All right, let him finish. Let him finish. Wait, let him finish.
so in calculus 2, we had a teacher one time, and it was from LSU, and he came and he was explaining like series. And so a series is like basically a short way to like write down all these different numbers.
So like the
Like that kind of stuff, or like a sequence rather.
Okay.
And so like the shortened way of writing the sequence is how they transport that. It makes it smaller, and so they can send it out. And like that's why it's like not exactly how it sounds in person as it sounds on the phone. It's like multiple.
So my go-to explanation is science. Just slap science on it and then call it a day, right?
Okay, no, let's become a generator.
All right. Yeah. Anyway. All right. So anyway, yeah. So America and Britain lay out the first transatlantic cable in the 1860s, which allows for intercontinental communication. That's a huge deal. For the first time in human history, you can communicate across continents in a matter of minutes. Right? 1860s. All right. Electrical generators.
Wasn't that in Cable Girls?
I don't know. All right. Electrical generators. The creation of electrical generators in the 1880s led to the creation of electric grids. So we know that like Edison back in America as well as Westinghouse were both competing for different versions of electrical generators in America.
I cannot spell.
So Edison and Westinghouse in the United States developed some of the first electric generators that allow you to have electrical grids that can produce like electricity in your homes. So in the 80s and 90s, when you begin to see cities, not rural areas, but cities in the 1880s and 90s begin to develop electrical grids for lighting streetcars and trolleys. So now you're feeding electricity to lighting, streetcars, trolleys, eventually appliances in homes once they start making those too. So it revolutionizes our society because now you can have lights on 24/7. You can have electric-powered vehicles now, which is a big deal. Yes, this is when the day becomes like a 24-hour day basically now.
Did you know that Edison killed an elephant?
Yes, just to show off electricity.
Topsy.
To make the other guy look bad.
Have you seen the Bob's Burgers episode of the reenacting it? It's hilarious.
So now offices, schools, libraries, restaurants, factories could remain open at night. So schools, offices, libraries, restaurants, factories could all remain open at night. So we become more of a 24-hour society. But mainly, again, at this point, it's just cities. It's not rural areas yet. That's going to be later on. Well, now it could be like, 9, 10 o'clock, whatever, right?
Whoa.
I know, right?
They were probably going hitting the sheets at 7.
All right, electricity speaks. So a Scottish American, Alexander Graham Bell, creates the telephone in 1876. So the telephone comes out by an American in 1870s. But it wasn't really widely available to regular people until about 1900. So it wasn't really widely available to most people until the 1900s. So it's going to replace the telegraph. But now you have a way to send electric signals through a phone wire and communicate with your voice. So as telephones spread, it created thousands of jobs for women as operators. So that's an effect that it has, is that a lot of cities will now add women as operators. Because back in the day, operators would have to connect your line to somebody else's line to communicate.
You had to plug it in. That was on the show.
Exactly. So you communicate like that. Because when you rang the phone, you rang the operator, and you told the operator who you wanted to call.
You would say the number, and it would connect it to that number.
Exactly. So it becomes a big female job at the turn of the century as thousands of women become telephone operators in this time period. Wireless communication. So radio first developed in the 1890s, but it was kind of only used by military and stuff at first. So 1890s, you have radio come out. An Italian inventor, Guglielmo Marconi, this guy right here, Guglielmo Marconi. He invents the first wireless radio, or as he called it, let's put my keyboards on, thank you. Or as they called it, the wireless telegraph. He patented it in Britain and lived there, but it only transmitted signals at first. So at first only transmitted signals, not human voices. So at first only transmitted signals, not human voices. Radio, yeah. The first voice broadcast doesn't happen until 1900. So Marconi's going to capitalize on the new developments of radio and actually make the first radio factory. So Marconi's going to make the first radio factory as time goes on. Like in America, we don't make the first commercial radio station like where it's like radio until 1920. So radio is mostly used for like military type stuff for the first few decades. It's not until like the teens and 20s that it becomes more like a commercial or consumer good. You have a good weekend. Test is supposed to be Wednesday.